What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Make sure you're hitting the like button and the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. And then the podcast can be found anywhere you listen to your podcast. Follow it, rate it, especially rate it on iTunes and Apple. It goes a long way. But again, like and subscribe, grows the channel. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, all that good stuff. This podcast is brought to you by the Belly Up Media Network. You go to bellyupsports.com and check out the Belly Up Media Network. They've got podcasts, blogs, and different things for you, not just all sports, but everything else. Go check all that out. So let's dive into today. High school football is coming back. We're in the summer. It's way into June. So we're going to continue a topic that I tried last year on this podcast. It's our simple offense. I'm going to change it to simple offense, simple football talk. So if you go on the YouTube channel, click on the playlist, there's simple offense. There's different things. We're going to get back to it for the summer. But one thing that we're going to talk about here is summer football and what different topics and everything else. So we're going to talk about summer football / summer sports and what goes into a summer that maybe some people don't think about when they think of high school sports and summer football. What goes into it? You have to be organized, and we're going to break it down now in this episode. We'll have different stuff. We're going to talk about organizing because you got calendars, you got coaches meetings and different things. How do you organize your offense? How do you organize your defense? 7-on-7, lineman challenges. What do you do with drills, culture building, and how and strength and conditioning? So we're going to talk about different things. We're going to break it up. This might be an episode a week for the summer organization up until we get to the season. So we'll get through it. But this is for, again, young coaches that necessarily there's stuff out there for everybody. You want something with X's and O's, it's out there. I have stuff for X's and O's. Other coaches do. I will be putting up more X's and O stuff of what I've done in the past, what I've seen, maybe what we might do this year. Not necessarily everything, but just things that we've done, things I've talked about, me and other coaches that we've sat down and talked. So there'll be X's and O's. This is for, coaches. Again, go back to the simple offense. There are some coaches out there that maybe don't ask certain questions because they don't know it. Maybe they don't know exactly what techniques are, because I can tell no offense to when I played high school, I didn't know what a 1 technique was. I didn't know what a 0 technique was. I didn't know any of that. I just knew gaps. I knew man blocking, so that's why we didn't know techniques. It was block the first guy head up to the right of you, and I still use that type of terminology. But I still use techniques. If I say, hey, if I tell him power your gap down backer and then we don't block someone, I say, hey, yeah, block the 1 technique because he is down. It's gap down backer. So I use both terminologies because I want the kids to know the techniques. So that way, if they go into coaching, they know it. If, I left or if another coach left, because this is a part of it, and we'll talk about, I want to talk about all of that, when you're talking to coaches about jobs, when to leave and this and that, this is what's going to be about this. So there's young coaches out there that don't know this, and I want them to have all the information out there. You can find X's and O's everywhere, but I want them to hear and have different viewpoints, because I'll talk to coaches about everything. I've talked to different coaches about inside zone, and a lot of it's the same, a lot of it's different. So let's talk about summer. When you are a high school coach and it's the summer, there are different things you are going to battle. There are different things that you're going to have to confront. Number one, how you organize your schedule. Now, I have helped head coaches organize their schedule. I've had conversations. One thing you have to do is you have to have it set ahead of time, obviously. So, summer, how do you organize it? What do you decide? Do you have football camps right away after school ends? It depends on what your district is. But a couple things to think about before you decide what you're going to do. Number one, you have to understand there are other summer camps going on in the summer. Mainly, depend on where you're at. Up here where I am, you will have basketball camps in the month of June. You will have basketball tournament / shootouts in the month of June. Some might continue into July. And I'm not talking travel ball. I'm talking about with the high school. You will have summer baseball, whether it's summer baseball camps or some high schools have summer baseball games where they go play in the month of June. So when you are a football coach and you're trying to organize your calendar, one thing I recommend is you have to talk to the other varsity coaches. So that way, they probably know their shootouts. If they host them, they already know them. So you can make that determination on what time you want them for your camps, when to go schedule other things. And we'll talk about 7-on-7s and stuff later on. This is organizing it at the very beginning in your calendar. I have been a part of many different calendars. I've been a part of different organizational things in the summer. I've been a part of where football camp starts. If you're done with school at the end of, the Memorial Day, after the day after Memorial Day, if you have Teacher Institute, that following week into June, you start football camp and you're going football camp, then maybe a week off or 2 weeks off, another week of football camp, because you also have to know contact days. State of Illinois, I believe we got 25, and then COVID, they changed it to 20. So you get 20, 25 contact days, which by definition is contact. There's a football around, you're doing different things. So you have to know, okay, I can only get so many days. So I've been a part of 5-a-day football camps where you go that whole week in June, then maybe take a week off and they're just lifting, they're doing something else. Then you come back the next week, there's 5 days of football camp. So right there, you've used 10 days. If you go Monday through Friday, there's 10 days. And then give them a week off. They get a couple of days off for the 4th of July. Maybe you come back for 3 days. So there's 13. You come back, there's 5. There's 18. You take a week off, you come back, finish out the football camp. You have a couple extra days for, you know, if you have 18, you use your 5. You have 23, then you've got 2 days. You want to go to 2 7-on-7s or whatever it is. And then you have the dead period for us in Illinois. Then you go into your season. Been a part of stuff like that. I've been a part of where you do 2 weeks in June, like back to back. You go football camp week, football camp week. Then you have weightlifting, speeding, conditioning, tell them they can go on vacations or whatever. Then you have where in July you have 2 weeks more of camp. So there's your 20 days. Then you got 5 extra days. So during those other times, you have 7-on-7s and everything else. Sometimes I've had football camp, you have a long break, then you go to a 7-on-7 and it counts as one day because it's the same day. Depending on the hours of camp, you can shorten down the camp hour, go to 7-on-7, so you're working around the hours of your contact day. That's a part of that as well. You have to look at that. You have to get those scheduled. A new thing is joint practices. Last year we had 2. We had somebody come to us. We did lineman challenges. We did 7-on-7, and then we went to a school and you have a joint practice. You do drills. You do team versus team type things like inside run periods, 7-on-7, but you're in helmet shoulder pads. So you have to organize that. You have to make that decision. I've been a part of, and this one kind of sticks out to me. And hopefully, coaches out there maybe think about this, especially if you're in Illinois. I was a part of a high school where the whole month of June was all weightlifting and speed and conditioning for football. So it's labeled open weight room, but football comes in. Anybody can come in, basketball can come in, baseball can come in. But it was labeled where they just lifted 4 or 5 days a week. They had speed and conditioning as well. So maybe they lift 3 days a week, 2 days they're running or doing whatever the strength coach wants. And they did this because there's some kids are going to play football and their main sport is baseball, but they like playing football, but their main one's baseball, their main one's basketball. So to get these kids tired going to all these camps, not to, drain them, not to make it where you have to be here, and pull in them different ways. Let them go play basketball because they're running. As long as they come to the weight room. That was the big stickler, was they come to the weight room. Then the whole month of July, use all your contact days. 4 or 5 day a week camps, 7-on-7 on a Saturday. Again, maybe you have camp for an hour and a half in the morning. Then they go off for a little while. And then you go to a 7-on-7 at like 5 o'clock at night. Still part of your contact day. You have those opportunities. So the whole month of July is all football camp. You're putting everything in you need to. You get that dead period of 7 to 10 days in Illinois, and then you go right back into August. So you're rolling right into August, picking up right where you left off. And once I saw that and I realized like they could, and you still lift in July, don't get me wrong, just because you do all of it in June doesn't mean you don't lift in July. That's part of your football camp. So if your practice is 2 hours, maybe the one day, okay, we're going to go an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes. They're going to go lift this day. The next day they won't. Whatever the head coach and the strength coach decide. So that's another part of your organizational skills, organizational calendars and everything. Have your strength coach, if you do it as a head coach, figure out your strength program and how you're going to approach in the summer. If one of your coaches is your strength coach, you sit down, have a conversation, what's best, and put it on the calendar for the kids. And so you have to make sure that that type of stuff is organized. So some of you younger guys are looking to be head coaches. I have not been a head coach. striving to, but I have not been, but I've been a part of these conversations with head coaches and how to do this. And that's part of it. And I'm trying to tell you, you are going to battle with basketball camps and baseball camps and vice versa. Basketball camps are going to battle with football when you do this. Now, there's no basketball in July. There's no baseball. And I'm talking about high school. The travel stuff makes no sense to me. And they're doing travel basketball. I think the high school sports should come before the travel because if you're really good, they're going to look at your high school stuff. Yeah, they'll know you play travel and everything, but they're going to look at the high school sports if you're an athlete. So you have to make sure that type of stuff is organized. You talk to the varsity coaches. Going into the summer, part of your strength and conditioning, are you going to do the whole month of June? Does it split off where you do football camp, strength and conditioning, football camp, whatever you want? I don't think there's a wrong way to go about it. I personally, after being a part of lifting and everything in June, they're going to basketball, they're going to baseball, they're doing other things they want. You're helping promote the other sports in the school, and in turn, make sure you're communicating, even if you're not the head varsity football coach, that you promote other sports. And in turn, those coaches will hopefully work for you. Like for me, I am the run game coordinator and varsity line coach for the football team. I am now a freshman basketball coach. So part of my job is to develop the freshman basketball players into the basketball program. I'm doing the same terminology as varsity. We're going to work on everything they do. So when they get to sophomores, it's just an easy transition. They get to varsity, easy transition. But a part of it is they're going to promote other sports, football and everything else. I am also going to promote football to them, but I'm going to promote baseball. And then in turn, on the football field, if I see a kid that can go wrestle, I see a kid that can go play basketball, I want to say, hey, you need to go do this because you want to promote that. If you're on the same page with those coaches, the other coaches in the building, and you can get everybody working together, that's part of it. So as a young coach, even though you're not the varsity football coach, you're not the varsity basketball coach, you can make an impact on these programs. And you young coaches out there, you got to realize you can do that. Then going into it, the last part to talk about is having your coaches be on the same page. And I will talk more in depth this when you talk offense, defense, 7-on-7 and all that stuff, drills. One thing going into the summer, depending on what your calendar is, are you going to have all strength and conditioning in June? Are you going to have some football camps in June? It just depends. Going into the summer is very important to have your coaching staff put together. Now, I don't know about you guys that listen. Illinois has been a hard fetch to go get football coaches. It's been tough. So going into that, you have to have a staff put together. Going into the summer, you want to be able to make sure that the staff knows what their roles are. You need to have conversations and meetings, and Zoom has been a great tool for this. You want to make sure that the expectations are set to the coaching. As a head coach, that's what you want to do. As an assistant coach, whatever your role is, maybe tell the other coaches, like, we're going to have a meeting before our first day of football camp just to make sure 110% we're going to be on board about drills and everything. We'll talk about what you can do in the summer with drills and everything. But you want to make it simple on coaches. Now, what I mean by this is I'm gearing more towards a new staff. If you're an established staff that's been a part of it and you've been together for a while, summers are always the same, right? If you're a program that's always competing, very rarely do you lose 5 games in a year. You don't change too much. Yeah, you might tweak some things. It's not always going to be the same. But if you're new staff put together, for example, we lost about 4 or 5 coaches that we had to replace. And so now going into the summer, as a trying to rebuild the cultural program, we made some tweaks. And so as an assistant coach, that's a part of your job, especially if you were part of it. Some of us were a part of this for the past 2 seasons as this new staff. And so the other coaches look to us, and we have to be putting that together. We have to make sure everybody's on the same page. So as a head coach, you have to do that. As a coordinator, because I've been offensive coordinator, and being an offensive coordinator and not having the other guys on staff on board with what you're doing, except for maybe one coach. I had one coach on offense that I think was fully 110% in on what I was doing, 110%, and did everything he could to help me. Everybody else, because we had to coach both sides of the ball, everybody else always had a comment. Everybody else, if the head coach said they could come up with their own drills, well, they would come up with drills that I thought, and we'll talk about drills in a whole nother part, but they would come up and not be on the same page. This drill has nothing to do with the type of offense we're going to run. You wanting to change part of the offense and undermine me as a coordinator is not helping with that. So, what I mean by coaches being on the same page is saying, this is the offense we're doing. This is the defense we're doing. This is the weight program we're doing. We need people to buy in. Even if deep down you don't 100% agree with it, you need to respect the coaches to come in, respect them. Don't have to hang out with them afterwards, but respect them enough to come in, because in turn, it's about the kids, especially in high school. I mean, every level, but in high school, if those kids can tell coaches are not on the same page, they can tell they can tell this coach doesn't necessarily agree with everything this coach is saying, you will have issues. So having the coaches come in, now you meet beforehand, you got to meet during the spring and make sure everybody's on the same page. So you got to make sure that coming in, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Now, obviously, in the summer, you can make tweaks, they can have ideas, you can have conversations, but ultimately, you've got to make sure coming into this calendar, coaches are on the same page. They understand what's expected of them, they understand the standard, they understand what offense you're doing, they understand what defense you're doing, what they expect. Um, because being an offensive coordinator is the only way I can describe it. And coming into a summer where a lot of the assistant coaches wanted to change things, a lot of them had their own ideas, and then you have to turn around and be the guy that puts your foot down and says, "Nope, you guys don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to do that," and everything else. It's not a good feeling. They're not good conversations. Um, but in the summer, you got to make sure the schedule is organized properly. Decide how you want to go about it. Your strength and conditioning program being huge. You will battle other sports, just ensuring those sports will battle with you. Make sure that you're working with those other coaches, making sure your staff is on the same page, whether you're a head coach or an assistant. Make sure everybody's held accountable for everything. Um, and that will help you ease into your summer. Some of coaches out there that might listen to this, you've already been in summer camp. Me, at the time of this recording, because I don't know when this will be put out there, we start camp tomorrow. I am recording the night before we start our football camp. And so for us, we're starting our camp June 27th. So whenever I decide to release this at the time of this recording, we're starting. So we had a whole month of strength and conditioning. We took the route of strength and conditioning. So um, make sure you're going through that and make sure that's all organized. That will end this part. Again, look out for other episodes going back to our simple offense, and we'll do a simple defense for the summer to help out some of younger coaches. I want that out there. Check out all the other episodes. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll do the summer section for coaches, to understand what summer's like for some of young coaches I don't know. So be on the lookout for that. So again, thank you guys for watching and or listening. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. Twitter at coach_Steve72. Leave a rating on iTunes and leave a comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Good luck to all the coaches that maybe are starting their football camp just like us. And we will see you on the next one.